I take you back to the issue of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is on record having offered himself to be a part, to come under the ambit of the Lokpal. The Jan Lokpal protagonists also want him under Lokpal. So where does the committee stand, or where do you stand?
I'm obviously not at liberty to disclose to you the details of the nitty-gritty, but I can sketch out to the various options which are there being discussed. Obviously, one is simpliciter or full inclusion of the Prime Minister. Simple, like you and me included, no caveats. Second is equally simple, full exclusion. Let me tell you, for both there are, for the second one as well, there are a lot of strong views.
Complete exclusion.
Complete exclusion. Third, include but with large substantive exclusions of subject matter. Fourth, include with subject matter exclusions plus additional very, very strong safeguards, like a reference to Supreme Court, this, that or the other.
Which is the one most likely to be?
Fifth, deferment. Include him fully now, but prosecute him after he demits office. Now, I think if you see carefully, each of these has a lot of merit. I mean, it's not easy to just dismiss your viewpoint as out of hand or mine as out of hand. Each has merit. The challenge to the committee is, I think, to go to the essence of it and see there are issues of national security, there are issues of instability, there are issues of the image of the country, there are issues of pot shots, etc., etc. But I can tell you that this committee is very mature and is in functioning well, so I'm sure we'll come at a reasonable conclusion.
You know, when Anna Hazare went on strike, on the second strike during the monsoon session, and then the Parliament gave him an assurance on 3 issues: Citizens' Charter, the question of bringing bureaucracy, as well as an enactment for the creation of Lok Ayuktas. Are you in a position, can you tell us if you've met these assurances, if these assurances have been taken?
I can tell you this much, that we will certainly ensure that all these 3 issues, along with about 14 or 13 other issues, there are a total of about 16, 17 such big ticket issues, each one of them will be addressed specifically in the report, according to us, satisfactorily. People may not agree, but we are not only bound to our own conscience, but to Parliament. Now, whether you read that assurance to mean that everything should be under the same act, whether you read that assurance to mean that it should be an efficacious model where it actually works, maybe in a different act.
Okay, let me ask you, will the creation of Lok Ayuktas be and Lokpal be in the same act?
I can only say this, that the committee has officially sought, in view of my own personal view also, the written opinion of constitutional experts like retired former Chief Justice of India as to whether it is constitutionally permissible to have one single enactment for the federal Lokpal and for the state Lok Ayuks.
And what do they
well, the opinion we have got is, yes, it's possible. There are constitutional provisions which permit the central government to do such enactments for the states in pursuance of treaty obligations, and this one is under the International Convention on Treaty on Corruption. That aspect we are concerned about: is it constitutionally valid? Is it permissible? And it does, on the obvious face of it, have the great advantage of making one uniform enactment.
What is the position that you've taken on the judiciary? Is the judiciary going to be a part of this?
I cannot reveal to you what position we have taken, but we have certainly addressed the issue in extremely strong terms. We do believe that, first of all, corruption is not the entitlement or the preserve or the unique ability of only politicians or bureaucrats. That's a fundamental flaw. Somebody said jokingly that if you were to add up all the corruption in this country from the private sector, it may far exceed that which is happening in these 2 classes, which are addressed principally by the Lokpal. Judiciary is certainly an important segment. Why? How can there be sacred cows in terms of prosecution for anti-corruption measures, for corruption measures? But the challenge is what model? Under this act? Under a separate act? What should be the structure? We have to also keep in mind the very important additional facet in the judiciary case. It does arise in other cases. There is a constitutional mandate for independence of the judiciary. If you enact any law which is supposed to erode or dilute the independence of the judiciary by allowing external policing, it may well be struck down on the ground of erosion of judicial independence. So keeping all these things in mind, we have, I think what we have done is suggested a very good measure if it is adopted by the committee ultimately.